Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Okay, hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World, and let's just talk. And don't forget my cooking show, The Chef You and I. I am so honored to have one of the best book marketing companies and wonderful guest named Scott Lorenz, who owns Westwind Book Marketing Company. And probably the easiest person that I've ever talked to concerning authors and marketing books and films and whatever else. He's also a balloonist. That's one of his hobbies, which I love. And I love hot air balloons. I think they're absolutely, you feel like you're with God and quiet, like lots of quiet, which I wasn't expecting, no sound hardly. And so anyhow, he's joining us today because I invited him because I work with him all the time. And I think it's about time, because of all the authors that I get a lot of, for him to talk about what you need to do to market your book, and everything from photographs to everything to promote. Am I correct?
You are correct. You are correct.
And I want to ask you, welcome to our show, Scott. And
Thank you.
let me ask you, how long have you're a successful author yourself, but how long have you been in this business?
I've been in it over 35 years. And
Wow.
actually, I did it when I was in college to some extent. I promoted a book by one of Howard Hughes's aides, who decided to leave Mr. Hughes and write a book.
Wow.
And that's how we found out about Howard Hughes, his dementia, all the things that you learned about Howard Hughes and his kind of a strange world he lived in. So that was my first book back when I was in college at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and I graduated in 78, 79.
Wow. You're a young kid yet.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Anyhow, the one of the things that amazes me are and I've had wonderful interviews with your authors.
Right.
I have to say they're so multi-talented, from every avenue out there, from furniture to
astronauts, you name it. I know it is doctors. I work with a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers who decide to write books. Doctors, there's one doctor who's a cancer doc, and he uses the book writing process just to kind of get away from the world he lives in, where he's dealing with people that are, having trouble, and, it could be, and they're, at very difficult times when you have cancer, obviously. So it's an escape for him and for other doctors that I know that are working so many hours every day and every week.
Right. And the funny thing is that I know a lot of these doctors, and especially the science fiction ones.
Yeah.
And it's amazing their talent. But my uncle was a doctor. I'm from a family of medical people, and they all had hobbies that you wouldn't imagine that they would have. Okay.
Right. I've worked with 100 doctors, okay, over the years. And I know some that are into ballroom dancing, some that are into painting, sculpture, some other creative outlet is what I find that they typically do to release, to get their mind off whatever they're doing. So it is interesting, I will say.
And it's interesting for me to interview them because I never know exactly unless I get the bio. Usually I do get all of that. And I think it's amazing, but a lot of people have a very strange idea of writing a book, of sending it to a publisher, of they think they're going to make $1 million. The world of books has changed dramatically. Would you say that?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, the Amazon changed everything. They turned it all upside down. And in some way there was, it was a disruptor. Okay. So it benefited authors. It got rid of the person who was the gatekeeper at these publishing houses that said, no, we can't take your book. We can't publish it. Amazon will take any book, publish it. They'll publish it with mistakes and all. I'm not saying that's good, but I'm not saying it's bad, but that's what it is. So everybody has access to the platform, and now that just gives you the access to the platform. It doesn't mean people are going to go buy the book because they don't know about it. That's why I get hired to promote a book into to existence. So it's a changing, it's changing all the time, all the time. I remember when Borders Books was so powerful and they were nationwide and everybody loved Borders Books. Well, they're gone. And then you have, Barnes and Noble, they're still around, obviously. Books A Million is around as well. But there are a ton of independent bookstores that Amazon did put out of business, sadly. So it's tough biz. It's a tough biz on that side of things. And a lot of publishers went out as well. So, but nothing changes. Nothing stays the same, I should say.
So would you say you're also a book publicist as well as a PR and marketing person to market their books? Would you say that?
Well, I mean, a book publicist is the guy that promotes the book, gets on TV, radio, newspaper, magazines. We get reviews for the authors. We put it into existence and on social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever we can. I mean, some authors are really, it's a perfect book for LinkedIn. So we go on LinkedIn if it's a business book, or if it's a book on, like certain sci-fi books. Instagram is great. Book Talk is also good. I mean, it's just, there are plenty of outlets for a book, and that's my job to figure out what to do with it and how to get the word out.
Yournews.com is the other one.
What is that?
Yournews.com, free.
Okay.
475,000 reads a day.
See, there's just an endless number of little niches out there. Okay. There's the whole Christian book network as well. Yeah. And they are, people who listen to Christian radio are devout, and they really are loyal to that audience, or to the station they're listening to every day. They're and so when we get a Christian book, we've done dozens and dozens of Christian books, they will eat it up at those Christian broadcast stations, both TV and radio. So
that's the nice thing about doing my own syndication and doing and owning it, because I picked what I wanted to pick, because I knew because I've covered everything. There isn't anything I haven't covered, I don't think, in 30 years, 35.
Wow.
That's a lot of, and it amazes me every time with the different stations and whatever, if you know what I mean.
There's a lot of just a ton of niches. And then with podcasting, it further niches it down. I mean, they're just every subject, anything you could think of, obviously, is on a podcast. And it's my job to find those podcasts. I mean, there's like 5,000 podcasts easy that are in our database alone. And then you've got some that just focus on sci-fi. You've got some that like just medical stuff. You've got some that are interested in Christian or Jewish issues. I mean, it's just endless focus. You've got some that just handle political stuff, the right, the left, the middle. It's kind of good, but that's why I get hired all the time, because there's no way for people to know this. If they just wrote a book, there's no way to even know that all this thing is out there available to them. It's impossible. It's taken me a lifetime, and I keep connecting with people every day in the media business to find outlets for my authors. So
Right. And I've always loved your authors because they are exciting, challenging sometimes.
mhm.
It makes a difference. So the book title generator, a proven system in naming your book, because I think naming, that's yours, book title generator.
Right.
You need to send me one of those.
Sure.
That would be nice. So anyhow, what I want to ask you is, when somebody comes to you in the very beginning, Scott, and they have something, they send you a manuscript usually, correct?
Sometimes, yep.
And sometimes they have the book already done.
I get it in the manuscript stage. I get it already done stage. I get it's going to be out in 30 days stage. I get it in it's been out 3 years stage. We get them at all different levels. So
Has there been any one book that you were shocked when you got it?
shocked. Well, I've had some books that I've turned down that were shocking because of the content. It's not repeatable, but some of the, and we don't take everything that comes along, even if you've got a checkbook open. We're careful about who we work with. We don't want to, it's got to be a good fit. It's got to be a good fit. And the expectations have to be realistic. And, one of the problems in the business is that there are so many people that will promise an author anything. And I'm very careful about, I don't promise them things that I cannot deliver. And I'm very careful about that so that we don't get out of line with expectations and so forth. So, in my deliverables. All right. But we get all kinds of books at various stages, and sometimes I take somebody's book and I say, you need a copy editor on this book. It needs to be, there's some things that need to be fixed, or I'll maybe get a reviewer that says, hey, look, man, this thing, there's some disjointedness here. You need to get this fixed. And I'll say, hey, look, here's one of my reviewers who's reviewed 1,000 books. They say you need to get this fixed. Okay, so let's get that fixed. So, but most of the books I'm dealing with are in pretty good shape when I get them. So
I really had a lot of fun with my son doing the book that
yes,
with. I loved that, and I loved the review that I got. And I think now, and I was out somewhere today with a lot of seniors, which I don't usually run around with seniors too much, but I went, and it was really wild because they really want an audiobook.
yes.
And so I'm doing an audiobook now.
I recommend audiobook, Kindle book, paperback, and Kindle. And on some books, you've got to go hardcover because of the type of book that it is. But you might as well have all the mediums because people listen to, they have different mediums that they want to receive their information on. For example, I got a book coming out shortly. It's about a dyslexic entrepreneur. Well, people who are dyslexic, that's the target market. They're not reading a lot of books. They listen to the books. Okay. So I said, you've got to take this book and turn it into an audio book.
That's right. That's right.
Because they struggle. Even this particular author is still struggling reading, trying to, I basically had to talk through the contract because it was challenging to read for him. And he's a very successful multimillionaire.
Well, a couple of my family members are dyslexic.
Are they?
So yeah, and it's not uncommon anymore. But
Right.
there's a lot of people that have hearing problems.
Right.
So that's the reason why they read. Or they have older people sometimes have different eye problems and they can't read anymore.
I hear you.
So that's the thing that I think that we need to do today is, and I love my hardcover book.
Mhm.
I treasure it because, I love to read, which is something that, that my family taught us back then. And so tell me, isn't the cover of the book important besides the style of the book?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so today, back in the olden days, you used to go to the bookstore, you pick
Right.
up the book, you
Right.
page through it, okay, and you have a physical thing in your hands. You're reading the back cover and all
Right.
that. Today, you're online, you're reading the thumbnail of the book on Amazon or
Right.
Barnes and Noble or Goodreads, and you're reading about some of the reviews and the editorial reviews, and you're getting your information that way. Plus, you're also seeing a bunch of other books that Amazon places near it that are similar. So if you type in a book about, let's say you're looking for a book on autism or something, you're going to get the book you may have been looking for and about 10 other books that are in that space. Okay, so the cover is so critical to it, attracting someone's eye and also making it memorable.
Right.
Okay. And then you don't want to look like a book was, done by your, third grade graphic arts student and, your niece, your grandfather, granddaughter, whatever. You've got to have it. It's got to be nice. It's got to be well done. Okay. And so I have an article on my website, book-publicist.com, that talks about how to get a good book cover designer, and where to go. And I've got 50 book cover designers on there that people can look through and see their work and make an arrangement with them. So I love the cover is really critical. I really want to weigh in on that if I can with an author. So, and then tying in with that is the title. The title has got to be short, catchy, and memorable. Okay. And I tell my authors, look, if they're listening to you on an interview as they're driving down the road at 90 miles an hour, that's our speed limit in Michigan, at times.
80 miles.
It is for some people, I know. Anyway, it's like they're listening to this interview, and it's like if you can't give them a memorable title,
Yeah.
they won't remember it. It's that simple. So it's got to be short, sweet. It's good if it rhymes. Sometimes it's good to have a number in the title. People can remember that. Okay. So, and that's why mine is, not to keep going back to my book, but it's called Book Title Generator. It's short and sweet, and there's 3 words in it. Okay. Houdini's Last Handcuffs. This is one of my clients right now.
Yeah.
Houdini's Last Handcuffs. Houdini is the subject of the book. It's a novel, historical fiction, and it's kind of memorable. I mean, is Dream Me Home by a Florida author, Laura Murphy. This is just one best fiction book of the year by one of the major book awards that's out there. And her book it's pretty, it's about a dream the protagonist has, and it's in her home, and she loves this little lily here, and it's kind of memorable. Dream Me Home. So it's short, sweet. It doesn't have 20 words in the title. I had a book that came in today that was like 15
David,
words. I'm going,
think about
hey,
what? I want to
you
show you.
can't have 15 words in your title.
That's the reason why I love this.
Oh
Because
yeah. Yes.
this is something that I really, and the gal that did this lives right here. And
In
she's one of the best graphic artists. I like to work with graphic artists that really understand you and what you really want to capture.
right.
And everybody loves that because they see this leopard looking out at them from the wall of China, and they go, wow, I can remember that.
Right. Right. And the font is important. The subtitle has to like direct people to the genre, or so people understand what the book is about. All right. There's a lot to it. That's why I wrote a whole book. It's not a huge book. It's only 96 pages. But the point is that it helps people think of things they would not normally be thinking about. And the thumbnail, most books all books end up as a thumbnail on Amazon or Goodreads or Barnes and Noble, and that
Right.
or somebody's phone. Okay. It's a thumbnail on a phone. And if that thing is so busy they can't comprehend what they're looking at, or they can't even figure out what the title is, or the font's not right, then you've lost a sale before you start. So it's really critical to be critical and selective in your cover design.
Tell me, has the price increased for books today? And is it true that Amazon has 48.5 million books for sale at any current time?
I've heard that number. I don't know if it's true or not. I have no idea. It's
What if your book has the same title as other books out there? What
then
should
this, then if you- then you've got to change up the subtitle. I mean, before you title your book, you should go on to Amazon and type in the title of your book and see what shows up, or go on to Google and see what shows up. I mean, there's no point in titling a book the same as somebody else did 6 months ago. And you may think it's the greatest title in the world, but uh there's no it's just you don't want to confuse the consumer. So there's ways to get around that with adding the word the, or a punchy subtitle, or using
Right.
it. I mean, you've got to be creative, you got to figure it out, but you don't want to use another title that's already in the marketplace, or just it's going to hurt you. So
Has, it's so funny because one of the gals that I work with, okay, from Texas, just published her book. And she said, now this is really amazing. In an hour's time, she sold 72 books.
that's good.
No, wait, this is the funny part. She said, I don't think that's very many. And I went, excuse me? I said, and she's a television personality that had a DIY show for 13 years.
People have expectations, and that's why I really am careful when I speak to my authors about, before we engage, what the expectations are and what can be delivered. There's and usually people have inflated expectations, and so I've got to try to bring it back down to earth, and then try to explain, here's what we can do, and if that works for you, great. If it doesn't, then see if you can find somebody else. But I try to keep people realistic, in their.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing to do, because they, even my son, when we first started, because I had another book before that, because of another author that I was working with. We had
Mhm.
half his book in my book, the first one. So we decided that we weren't going to do it that way. We were going to have a different kind of a series. And we're working on the second book right now.
Great.
Which, is exciting because it's going to be in Turkey.
Good.
Yes. And I love
A lot of
that.
things going on over there.
Yeah, there is a lot of things going on over there. Is there a specific number of words that a book needs to be? Because there's so many people that write books that are 600 pages.
I know. Here's what I have found over the years.
Right.
First of all, book reviewers, people who read a book and write a review, and then post it on Amazon, Goodreads, or Barnes and Noble. These reviewers are overwhelmed with the number of inquiries they get.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's why we are successful in getting reviews, because we actually have relationships with many, not all of them, but I mean, with many, and they know if I give them a book, it'll be a good book. Okay. So that's number one. But I have found that any book that's over 350 pages, the interest level drops, okay, proportionally. And once it gets to 600, it's really tough, because what happens is people are wanting to read a book over the weekend. They don't want to take 2 weeks to read your doggone book. Okay. And if they're being honest, they'll read the whole thing, every page. And it's too much of a commitment. Okay. So 300 pages or less, actually the 240 page, I think, is a good number. And in my case, on my book, I only wrote 96 pages because it's all I needed. I didn't need to put 300 pages on how to title a book.
Make it simple for people to read it and
Well,
understand
it's what it needed to be. That's all. I mean, we didn't add anything. I can add another chapter now because I've just written about using artificial intelligence using AI to help title a book. And it's kind of spectacular, the suggestions that AI comes up with once you feed it some information. It's pretty cool. So I could add one more chapter to that, and it'll be over 100 pages then. But a book needs to be whatever it needs to be. I got another book here coming out that's going to be 75 pages. Hey, if that's all it took, it's all it takes. I mean, if that's what they want, that's that's a book that might be attractive to a lot of people because it's only 75 pages.
Well, and I found out that a lot of people have read our book and went, I did it over a weekend and I loved it.
Right.
And then there's other people that don't really read, but they'll listen, like we talked about.
Right.
So,
And there's people who I've had books come back to me that from reviewers who say, look, man, I can't get past the first 2 chapters. The pace is too slow. So you have to be aware of what your audience is interested in. And today I think you need a faster pace than 20 years ago. I think
people are looking for something fast and furious.
Yeah, I think so.
I think their lives are so full, and people are shocked when I tell them I work weekends. They don't get that because
who doesn't?
That's right. Once you do the interviews, what do you have to do? You have to finish them, and you have to get them ready for anything, so they don't get it. So actually, I really like doing it that way. It's quiet. I don't have a lot of calls, and it makes it nice to be able to do that.
Authors are some of the hardest working people I know. I mean, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are very successful, multimillionaires, all kinds of success. But the authors are very, in order to be successful, you got to be disciplined for the most part. They need to be disciplined, and they'll work a full-time job, and then they'll go home and write for 5 more hours at night.
Right, because it's not a job to them.
Right. And I can tell when somebody's working late, obviously, when I get an email at 2 in the morning and I get up in the morning, I go, oh my God, I got 5 emails from authors. They're always getting a hold of me at 2 in the morning or something, because that's when they're up.
I mean, it's really crazy. And Scott, that I'm up late.
Yeah.
But that's the time when it's quiet for me.
Right.
That I can concentrate. And then I watch television. I love mysteries. I mean, that's my joy time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And authors will say, please, will you read this? Will you get it done for me so I know and I do that because, I really love authors. I love to read. And
that's good. You're in the right business then. And me too. I'm in the right business because I do enjoy reading and do enjoy working with authors and promoting them. So
that's the thing that I love about you, is that you're so devoted. As a publicist of authors who have graced the bestseller list of USA Today, Wall Street Journal, and Amazon.
New York Times also.
Yeah, okay. What are some examples of book titles you have worked with that have really sold books, and why?
Oh man. Well, I have to really think about, there's so many books. There's like there's, if you did the new movie out, Cabrini, okay? That's done by Jonathan, that the director of that is Jonathan Sanger. I promoted Jonathan's book called Making the Elephant Man, a Producer's Memoir.
Oh, I remember doing that with him.
And he's a terrific producer. He's worked with Tom Cruise on Vanilla Sky, Chadwick Bosworth, who passed away a couple of years ago, on the movie Marshall. Just terrific actor and a terrific movie. It was about Thurgood Marshall being on the Supreme Court. He's worked with on The Elephant Man. He had Anne Bancroft, Sir John Gielgud, and Anthony Hopkins. I mean, what an all-star cast. And so we talked about that movie a lot. And we talked about how that movie came about. And this is great because his babysitter came to him, and you're in Hollywood, he's in Hollywood. So she hands him the script. Yeah, I can babysit for you this weekend. Would you mind reading my boyfriend's script? Oh, sure. I mean, one more thing. And these guys get killed they get hit all the time for this stuff.
Thousands of
He says,
them.
okay, sure. He needed a babysitter. So he said, I'll read it. So he takes it, he sticks it in his desk drawer. 1 year later, he pulls out his drawer. He goes, oh my God, I didn't read this thing yet. So he reads it. He goes, oh my God, this is a great movie and great script. He calls them up, options the thing for like 10 grand or whatever. I forget what it was, but it was not a lot of money. Optioned it, took it to the office. He worked for Mel Brooks, and they had a production company, and Mel Brooks was going off of the comedy stuff and wanted to get into a more serious vein. So he lays it on the desk, goes into his office. Mel Brooks comes in, picks it up and goes, this is a hell of a script. Let's get it. And John says, I've already got it. We've got an option. So they made that movie, Elephant Man, which was a terrific movie. Every time I see it, I just go, oh my God, what an amazing, well-crafted piece. But it was, but anyway, so that was probably one of my most favorite books to work on. And he won an Academy Award for that movie direction. And I got to tell you, I don't know if you've seen Cabrini yet, but it's spectacular.
I haven't seen it yet.
And this is about the nun who came from Italy to work in New York and created some helped the poor Italian immigrants who were in New York City just get established and so forth. And so she was the inspiration to Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa had said this, and that's why you see Cabrini this, Cabrini that. I mean, she was a real force, okay? And this movie's all about her. It's spectacular. So if you get a chance to read it, to see that, I would recommend that anybody see that movie, and look at Jonathan Sanger's work. He is a true genius in this space, and one of the finest clients I've ever had, and he, in fact, he did say to this client here, the book about Houdini, he'll take a look at that script. They talked to him. So anyway, so there's some fun stuff like that, and Dr. Shuey's books.
Oh, he's awesome.
The Bad Love Tigers, Bad Love Strikes was the first one. Bad Love Tigers, Bad Love Beyond, and then Bad Love Medicine.
Right.
And this book here has been converted to a screenplay, and this screenplay has won over 400 screenplay awards worldwide. It's amazing. Bad Love Tigers. Hopefully we've seen a movie out of that book in the near future. So. And
there's one of my clients, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
He's Don Greco. He's 82.
Wow.
And he's got 5 books that are being republished. And one of them, Abramo's Gift, I did the audio on it with him. We went to Hollywood, and Joe Estevez was going to do it originally. And the thing was that it would have cost a fortune because he has a breathing problem.
Oh.
And so I said to Don, because Don speaks perfect Italian, right? And it's about an Irish girl and an Italian immigrant that comes to the United States. And during that period of time, right, there was a lot of fighting between the Italians and the Irish in Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh.
So we did it together. And I think this year, he's going to try to do something really wild with it, I hope.
Good. Like what? Wild meaning what?
Well, he's republishing it.
Right.
And I told him that the audiobook is still in existence. Why not do it again? Right. But sure. I think it would make one of the best movies out there, especially at Christmas time, because Abramo gives something in a gift that's nobody else has done. And it's just really good. I think I'm going to send you the book.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many great books, and so many every movie starts pretty much from a book. It's very rare that there's not the movie's produced but not and with it not being based on a book. So it's kind of Um, but I will say this, if a book is super successful, Hollywood reaches out. If a book is under the radar, sometimes you've got to like do other things like write a script and
Right.
push it into their world so they know that it exists.
And
It's
there's
tough biz. It's tough
is it-
biz. Any way you cut it.
it's tough, and the other thing is that movies today, right, are everywhere. They produce them everywhere. And a lot of times you need to have, because I've been on this end of it, where you have to go find the money for it.
Right. I think that's probably the most important thing, frankly, besides having a good story, is you got to have the money. If you have the money, you can get anything produced. That much I can tell you.
Yeah, and I know.
I've seen it. I've seen it done.
I've seen it. Well, I have too, and I've been in a couple of them, and I've done this. I used to do that for a living, part of it.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of tension for me. So I wish you
Good.
all the luck in the world. Keep
Thank you.
sending me your authors. I love them.
I will keep
And
sending.
keep on doing the same thing that you're doing all the time. And
All
where
right, Kathryn.
where can people go to get all the information they need about you?
Well, my website is called westwindbookmarketing.com. Westwindbookmarketing.com. And that's it. So I have all the info there, and people can reach out to me if they have a book or if they're thinking about a book. And we'll talk.
I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's always
Thank you.
And don't forget to go to our website at KathrynRaakersWorld.com, where you can see all my other websites. Let's Just Talk and The Chef You and I. We'll see you soon. Have a great day.